Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.52. Alright, well I think I'm in a much better mood than I was yesterday. I made one episode. Obviously, if you're following the series, you watched it the day before. That this is released. And I just sort of, after making that episode, decided to quit because I was sort of in a bad mood and talking all of stuff. So, and I do know a few of you. I'm really grateful that do go in other forums and places that work to promote the channel up. I really appreciate that. You don't know how good that makes me feel that a few of you care enough to go more than just simply watching the channel. I mean, I'm grateful for that. As well, of course, that you're interested in either watching me play, or as many of you have commented, the big thing you're interested in is hearing my comments on things. Well, let's get going here. And so I just stopped playing and making an extra couple of episodes because of, not trying to make a downer production, if you know what I mean. Come on, intercept the air there. Take the Japanese out. Okay. Armored unit command. So we are reducing down. I put more leadership over to officers to continue to bring that up because we're having it established. No. Okay, they're attacking all out here. It seems like we're going to be able to hold the river. Well, sometimes it gets close and they look overwhelming. Okay, air defense network, which is, this is very useful, of course, because it helps with the IC costs for building interceptors and other things, as well as just efficiency, but efficiency is good enough. But like everything else here, we are reducing down at the moment, and medium bomber types, which will grade out. I've moved a few of the stuff that I don't want to cancel just because it's more than half built, but the time that I do want to get some of these units in by D-Day, and I don't know that we will, which is sort of a bummer. And yeah, let's move a couple more down to the bottom, because just these are so close here. These are hardly any ICs, so just most ICs are going for reinforcements and upgrades. No, we're not. Okay, let's crush this last little bastion. Hold out of Iraq, which may end that. I want to own the oil. No, Churchill was still into colonization. Colonial possessions. No, the US is pushed up to here, which is nice, though. Oh, they're counterattacking. They're doing a spoiling attack there. which of course may get more units thrown in to support it, turn it into something real. There again, we've won Bangkok. Yeah, looks like we're gonna hold there too. They're of course overstacked, but hey. Yes. Also giving the U.S. some war goals out here that, like here, I don't know if the, don't know the AI's tiny brain here. Don't know how much of you guys, I know a lot of you guys are overseas, not in the U.S., but I do know that some of the world does get Fox News outside of the U.S. I don't quite know where and what, and obviously some of it can be watched online. But there's this one commentator who's also not a comedian as in a stand-up comedian, but is a sort of a class clown kind of thing, if you will, or otherwise, not that I always agree with him or think he's always right about things. His name is Greg Gutfeld. He had a show called Red Eye, and now he sort of got promoted up into this more daytime show on Fox News. And he's always worried about the AIs taking over the world and ruling us. Well, I think, and he's thinking like in next 10 or 20 years. And I know there's more advanced AIs than what Hearts of Iron use, but if you look at Hearts of Iron, we're not looking at the AI at any time soon outsmarting us, I don't think. I really don't think, if we look at this practically. So, yeah, I'm not that worried about the AI coming in and overtaking us in our lifetime. Someday, maybe. But, like I say here, we got some massive outfits of the U.S. that I really, I sort of kind of hope that they would smash in and retake their own little islands, but maybe they don't see an importance to them, but I do. And as well as if there's Japanese forces stacked up there, I'd love for them to smash and destroy them. And I've given the U.S. and Australia some goals down here too to maybe come in and invade. The U.S. war machine is in top gear. Great. Maybe it'll give us more ICs. We have moved from high popularity to very high. That's great. More national unity, more territorial pride. Artillery unit training advance. Okay, well, let's take a quick look at that. Artillery unit training. Okay, 43. Well, we're in 43, but we're now into the green, so looking for more. Like the air power here, I think would be useful. And yeah, it can be that I'm just a little behind on some of these unit training things for organization levels and such, but that's going to give us a big boost. Mountain unit training. We're going to let that go. Probably should have moved some more over there because it's still back in the 30s. Tech. 10th Army formation. Okay, the 10th Army was a field army of the British Army during... Use army in at least two different ways there. One sentence. During the Second World War, created in Iraq and formed part of the major part of Power Force, Persian and Iraqi force. Okay, it was active in 42 and 43 and then disbanded. In April 1941, the British and Indian troops had deployed to Iraq to form India Command under the Lieutenant General. Okay, I don't know. You can obviously pause the video here. Yes, we'll form this command. Hopefully it doesn't take too much away substantially from other places. Maybe just that. Okay, that's good as a leadership. Okay, the 10th Indian Division has now formed in Baghdad, Iraq. Historically, the 10th Infantry Division was a war-formed infantry division of the Indian Army during World War II. In 4 years, the division traveled over 4,000 miles from Tehran to Trieste, fought in 3 little wars, and fought 2 great campaigns: the Anglo-Iraqi War, the invasion of Syria, Lebanon, Anglo-Soviet invasion of Iran, and the North African campaign and the Italian campaign. Excellent. New industry formed. Okay. Materials, fuel, energy, supplies. And we're going to say verbs. Abilities, and yeah, we'll take the command. Okay, so we had the 4th Cavalry Brigade as part of our invasion of Iraq. Now we have the 10th Indian Division, which is skeletal at best. Okay, we'll give it to Bourne here, Jeffrey Bourne. Yeah, that looks very interesting. Various units from different parts of India, it looks like. Okay, well, let's head it towards its historical destination here. Maybe part of our campaign to take a few of these islands. Okay, let's see, now we have the start of the year. So I'm going to save this first. Just clicking the wrong buttons can have big effects, and I don't want to have to go back and redo it if it doesn't work out the way that I intend it to. Okay, annual espionage. Well, right now it's sort of kind of like the 1% economic bonus, which used to I think be like 3%, was always getting my vote. But right now I think we're going to go for the 2% land organization bonus, which is quite reasonable. Knowing what your enemy's doing helps you out. And we will go with the short-term bonus, 10% greater ICs, and national focus. Now, we've got our Air Force mostly where we want to do. The ICs. Don't know why that is. Oh no, okay. Build up the Air Force, balanced Army Navy. Army focus, manpower. Well, right now, manpower looks good. Don't need that. Army focus. Yeah, let's try this one. Examine our factories. And build speed, get some stuff rushed, but I think the armaments factories will have the greater long-term effect. Because 44 won't last forever, but those factories now, looking the other day, you know, these were all damaged during you know, the German invasion. Are there some out here? I don't know exactly where. There's more of these, or maybe just that I saw. But those were definitely these were earlier things that were damaged that don't get rebuilt, because either you, if you can rebuild them, what was it? This just defeated. Oh well. Still got Manila held reasonably effectively there. I'm sort of worried a little bit, I don't know if worry is the right term, but thinking, I should say, that if I were to abandon the Philippines, I don't know, maybe it would trigger a US reaction, but abandon the Philippines, say, to retake some of this territory with the units. Oh, is this... okay, well, let's go to here. Connected. That would simply just free up other Japanese troops that the AI would send somewhere else. But who knows, they might just decide to reinforce the Philippines and whatnot, but don't know. Okay, light bomber prototype has advanced. Well, because we did that, we're going to come over and do jungle unit, because we're still fighting there pretty heavily. And now that we have a bonus in from the start of the year, and quite possibly from the US Lend-Lease, let's readjust some of that. No. Can we take this last little bit of Iraqi held space and hopefully shut that down? Okay, let's see. Now we have a 90% chance of positive outcomes, so we're going to do one of these. Yeah, recruit time reduced. That'll be nice. And direct fire unit training advanced. That's, I can only say, very good. So I don't know how many combined arm units that we have out there. Those are like the conf group A's, the battle groups, to really try to push that up. But we have maybe enough that are called special forces that will do that. Hoping once we get this last bit of territory, that'll go away. Yes, now add war goal. We don't want to puppet. We don't want to. So we're going to rather not, because I think we already have the war goal of. I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to let us conquer. Okay, recruiting policy. We're going to do my favorite, the balanced approach, because it just is. I could see if I'm trying to do the Soviet Union and simply want... Oh, it looks like a bunch of partisans broke out here. Wow, that's going to give Germany a bit of a reaction. Maybe let the Soviets... And so that's one thing I don't do well, is the intel war here. Not that I think it's unimportant, I just don't do it well. Okay, mobile unit training time, or training advances, which adds training time, of course. That's with a lot of these things. I'm somewhat reluctant on some of this stuff because it adds negative factors as well as positive factors. Not that it shouldn't. Better units require more training time, that kind of thing. Okay, looks like we've won. We've held the river. Move these guys back up takes them a long time, so get them moving. They don't have transport units, which is reasonably acceptable for historically my understanding. Oh, okay, they made it. They've made it here. Okay, good. Let's send you... Saw an Ascara unit. Now it's just freaking Ascara unit, I understand. But over here that might help out. And we'll reorganize some other time. Well, now it's going to be some time, so let's see if we can, yeah, give him at least a sort of a sucky commander that may get polished up in time. Let's add reconnaissance to this unit, make it a little better. Now let's see if we can hold out here. They're being supplied that way. We're treating the other ones out to come around and concentrate, but if this is a good enough division, it could give us a flanking attack. When we come around. Why the hell are you retreating? I don't know. Well, the U.S. has some armored divisions there. That's what these patches are. Hell on wheels, hell on wheels. Okay, just sort of generic. Division. Let's see if we can help out a bit. Sort of kind of worried that if I reinforce too much, they will stop coming in. That's sort of what appears has happened here. And I've even wondered if I were to retreat from this by sending a bunch of units to attack somewhere else, whether they would reinforce. Because of course I would want, you know, if we can look at the great multitude of forces here. Okay, well, those are, now that, see, look at that. 27 fighters. Some other heavy units. Okay, 3 heavy bombers. Looks like, well, some have amphibious armor, various motorized divisions. That, you know, okay, there's a nice mechanized division right there. Okay, this garrison division, 1 brigade, that's fine to have those around the U.S., preferably coastally, and like this, you know, that I fully encourage smart AI to, you know, whether they should be right in that province or not. But another mechanized division. You know, do defense in depth to keep, you know, if something sort of goes wrong and somehow Japan gets an invasion fleet together or something like that. Fully endorse that. I also fully endorse that on the sort of historical / realistic approach to the war, in that, you know, even fairly late when Stauffenberg did his assassination attempt against Hitler, he was trying to raise up the home army in and around Berlin to seize the government and to seize, you know, the various Nazi organizations and groups that were there, and there were lots of that, and I've definitely promoted that up. But when I, you know, make the big essay, and this is sort of why I don't have the essay happen for the AI, because the AI will try to upgrade those units, and they're never going to be that good, and during the war they were more downgraded. So that whole SA chain that you see for Third Reich events is set so that the AI decides not to do them, because they will try to use them possibly as occupation forces, which they did do to some degree. A little bit over here, but much more into Poland and Czechoslovakia type territories. But, you know, where there's some of the SS headquarters and these other things that happen, they're sort of weak units that they're good for internal control. And if you get an oops, you know, if I had set up, or if the US with all those mechanized forces were to just decide to invade somewhere, they can send in a bunch of forces locally to react to it. You know, that's smart thinking and good thinking and historical, because a lot of those units also represent units that have been, you know, shattered, like, say, this division that has basically nobody in it, being rebuilt while with new recruits. You know, it represents a lot of that type of stuff going on, as well as new units being built up that could, I mean, obviously this thing has, you know, less than 1,000 people in it, but if you were to get a, you know, divisions, so spread these out a little bit, hopefully they'll get, but if they had a couple thousand people in, you could rush them to the front. And that is what I like, and if the AI were just doing that, I'd be, you know, yeah, sure. Reasonable and meets expectations. Just posted, it'll be a day or two old by the time you get this, but on the Hearts of Iron 4 forum, you know, they're talking about, uh-oh, those are all sunk British units. My fleet out here got hammered by some Japanese. Damn. Fleet. The whole point was to keep them out of action, just if they got in. Oops, but they got eaten up. This may cut off my island hopping movement here in a second. We just took a major hit there. I mean, those were sort of Dutch coastal battleships and transports. Fortunately, the transports were empty. But that's just what happened to us. Uh-oh. Oh, wow. Well, back to as I was saying, I post on the Hearts of Iron 4 that one of the forums that, that sort of Hearts of Iron 4 is meh after 14 years of development. And one of the things I was pointed out is responding to Bjorn B, good guy and all, but their design concept is not to have a railroaded historical game that forces, you know, that, and they mean by railroaded is that there is little or no options for a non-historical setting. They don't necessarily mean that, you know, it's railroaded in that D-Day always happens on June 6th or December 7th for Pearl Harbor and whatever. It's not, they don't even mean that. They just mean generally they want a game. And they don't necessarily mean that because they have the historical mode, that they're not necessarily talking about a game that is, you know, always wild and crazy, you know. Is the Soviet Union going to go allies and or go, you know, switch over and become National Socialist, fascist or something like that? You know, and some, no, they're not talking about that, but they're talking about a, and I know this, but a game that has an AI that is weighted to generally do historical stuff, but also, and they talk about that if you sort of, if the player goes off the rails of history, you know, the player wants to go fascist Britain, say, or something like that, that it doesn't break the rest of the game. You know, and which is, as Panzeroo often points out with this, if you go fascist Britain or something like that, or fascist France or whatever, Black Eye starts to fall apart. Now maybe you can say I'm wrong about one of these, you know, France or Britain or something, but generally speaking, it's designed to have it happen generally as we expect World War II to happen. So if you, and especially like Third Reich events, if you start declaring war, oh well, you declare, you know, war in Denmark in 1936 and crush it and get its ICs, okay, that's good. And then and that just happens really quick, and then later we can get just pick off the Netherlands. Well, that's going to break Third Reich events. Not that it's not going to continue in play, but there's a lot of events that happen only if Germany's at peace. Because I looked at history, And they would only be doing these things if Germany was at peace, because if it wasn't at peace, they would be building aircraft faster or some other things. They wouldn't be doing some of this other stuff. Now some of the stuff is, how do I put this? Domestic policy things, building sea resorts and things like that. But other stuff are things that lead up to being better at the war as well. You have both. You know, the 4-year plan basically goes out the window. I mean, the 4-year plan continued on after the war started, but not like it was before, and it was no longer the central part of the economy. It just, there was still the 4-year plan office, the factories and the that they had opened up, and the expanded mining, mineral resource extraction type things and processing that they had opened up. That all continued, but the idea of, oh well, we need a bunch more manpower to open up new ones, disappeared because manpower went to the army, okay, or went to the, you know, machine gun or tank production, because in 1937 they weren't turning out tanks as fast as they could because they were still sort of making a, you know, production run and testing them out. And I know I've talked about this in recent episodes here, but you know, they were doing some of that stuff, so it wasn't, you know, full speed on tank production. It was more, let's continue to develop our tanks so we don't, you know, so you had the manpower to expand the mines to, and they're not necessarily all like tunnel coal mining. Some of them were open pit for you know, bauxite or other sorts of stuff that was critical in the war production, but that they were able to expand. Now, of course, we can say here, you know, we're not on the Hearts of Iron Forum, the slave labor that Germany later had access to, that was put to some of the stuff both domestically in Germany as well as in occupied territories, that comes in to it. But that doesn't happen if you're at war with Denmark or the Netherlands, because you're not going to get that much slave labor out of these countries. And I sort of, to some point, look at this as historical, because historically, if you're Nazis, you're going to treat Denmark the way they treated Denmark, is with very soft gloves and going, hey, you're all Aryans and you're all going to love us eventually and just become part of the Reich, and we're all going to do it so smoothly you hardly notice. So no slave labor from anybody in Denmark, and you know, it's all the velvet occupation. And that's very much how Denmark was treated until the last days of the war, with the uprising of the Danes. Once they saw that they could maybe get away with it, one, and two, that it would help the war effort by tying down German troops that would have maybe been evacuated but had to stay and sort of defend Denmark. Very smart strategy. It's not a criticism, it's just an observation. So, and that we're sort of playing not National Socialist Germany, not, well, what if Germany? Well, what if the Nazis were Nazis, but they didn't hate Jews and they weren't going to do these other... No, they're still... You're playing the realities of the Nazi government. This isn't Kaiserreich by another name or whatever, you know, just German imperialism without the bad parts of National Socialism for Third Reich events. So you have limitations and you have benefits there. So if you go off the rails too far, yeah, the mod still works, but a bunch of things start shutting down that wouldn't happen. And so you sort of have Germany that isn't as well developed in many areas and things that don't happen. So if you go further off the rails, you get less and less of the, you know, the immersion and the benefits of Third Reich events. So that's what they're looking at in their design decisions, is to design a game that, and if you look at their coding of events and stuff, it's more dynamic than mine for Hearts of Iron 4. Yeah, I mean, just simple. Mine's a little more straightforward. Both work. Theirs works better if you're starting to go off the rails. I could emulate that some more, and I may do some of that. But so Though I do put certain checks, like Germany's at peace and things like that, for the Hearts of Iron 4 version. So, wow, look at, what am I over? Oh, that's, what am I over? 5 heavy panzer units below this HQ thingy here, it looks like. It looks like a HQ on top of that. Mechanized. Well, maybe it's just an AHQ symbols of the miniaturized. That's all without the SS. Okay, this is just headquarters sitting there. No problem. Sorry about that. But so that they're, you know, trying to do this thing that reacts better to players going off the rails. Yeah, but that isn't working well. Because when you don't go off the rails, like in my American campaign, the game itself goes off the rails and players get upset by this. Now, I know one of you was commenting about the Air Force and how certain things are sort of unrealistic in the new air system or not working right, and that sort of turned you off. Well, there's a lot of things to turn you off on the game, but there's Hearts of Iron 4, and this isn't some great defense of it, but you need to get the basics right before you do the fancy stuff right. So the basics, as in getting the war to flow in a historical manner, needs to be done first and done right before you get the war to be able to flow in a more dynamic manner. Because I would say the great majority, some of my opinions and positions are a minority, sort of a black ice opinion that a lot of you of course have, but experience has now shown that a lot of casual players for Hearts of Iron, which were turned off heavily by Hearts of Iron 3 just because of some of the design problems that it has, but like sort of Hearts of Iron 4, that, you know, so some of those opinions, you know, are sort of us hardcore gamers, so most of you will agree, but with what I'm sort of thinking, but a lot of the average players don't. But still, even a lot of the average players want the basic war to unfold in a way that they would recognize as being generally historical. Get that right, then you work on the dynamic stuff. So, you know, it's what's more important, the cart or the horse? Well, a cart doesn't necessarily do you much good without a horse. But at least you can ride the horse, and you can, if you know the sort of, a drag, I guess you would call it, 2 poles tied together up at the top and sort of like an A-frame kind of thing that, you know, just sort of goes off the back of the horse, and you can, you know, put some gear or have a person, you know, that needs medical treatment or something on it like they did in the old cavalry days, and so that it just dragged along the ground, a couple of crossings. It's something you can fashion in the field. You can fashion a drag and put your supplies on a drag and have the horse pull it without a cart. So the horse is more important without the cart. Yeah, and you say, well, you get a bunch of people to pull the cart. Well, we're talking about one guy. One guy ain't going to pull a cart any great distance filled with stuff. But a horse can move a lot more equipment and supplies than a human can without a cart. So the horse is more important. Then you can go for the cart. And they sort of built the great cart. They didn't build the horse to work well. And that's their problem with Hearts of Iron 4. Other aspects, other things that they're changing, not that I like all of the stuff, but a lot of the stuff is next level above what they did for this. And so all of us who love this are disappointed in a lot of the elements that they could have done for 4 that they didn't do. They could have readily done, and we would have put up with, oh, I don't know, not being able to have this, you know, nice hierarchies and setups like that. We would have put up with that much more readily if they'd gotten the AI and some of the other aspects working right. We go, okay, well, we'd like this eventually too, but, you know, they haven't done that. So, okay, end of the diatribe. Made the episode longer than I intended, but thanks for watching, thanks for liking the videos, and I really do appreciate you guys who have supported me in talking about the channel in other forums and places. I really appreciate that. See you next time.